This is the Ferrari 499P, the Italian manufacturer's current entry at the top level of endurance racing. A 3-liter twin-turbo V6 engine mounted behind the driver is supplemented by electric motors to form a combined power output of over 900 horsepower. That's a staggering figure and made all the more impressive given the weight of the 499P at just over 1,000 kilograms. This all adds up to a vehicle that can outperform all but a handful of race cars in the entire world. And famously, it's got a built-in tea kettle somewhere. So how does the 499P perform in Assetto Corsa? It's time to find out. Here's my review of the Ferrenzo P49 from Virtual Racing Cars. Say hello to the VRC Ferrenzo P49. This is the second Le Mans Hypercar to be released for Assetto Corsa from the Virtual Racing Cars modding team. In their typical manner, VRC has taken the mod to places few modders dare go. A functional ignition and starter system, anti-stall, a companion app, these are all part of the P49 experience. But not to worry if you can't be bothered with all the bonus features of the car, because VRC does include a vanilla version to enjoy in a more point-and-shoot style. VRC's version of the 499P further bolsters the LMH and LMDH high-quality offerings for Assetto Corsa and joins VRC's own Peugeot, RSS's BMW, and URD's Toyota. We're also expecting the release of the Porsche from RSS very soon. So let's get this wonderful machine on track and enjoy the Ferrari 499P in Assetto Corsa. Alright, so just before we start driving here at Italy, I just want to show you a couple of things in the companion app here that we get with the Ferrenzo. As you can see, we are allowed to adjust the display page. There are 2 on offer. And then we can also adjust the display brightness and display pop-up time. I'm not actually sure exactly what that does. And then the LED brightness. And then we also have the extended controls app. And this is where we can map different buttons to the many features contained within the Ferrenzo P49. You don't have to assign buttons to any of these. You can just drive the non-CSP version if you want, and you have to deal with none of this. Or you can select, or you can choose to assign any of these that you want. Any that you think would help you drive the CSP version, you can assign. Now, you'll notice that this display page, there's nothing. That's because the car is not started. So I'm going to go ahead and press my ignition button. And you can see that display page rolls to life. If I hold down my starter button, then we have the engine running. So this is display page 2. That is display page 1. I think I actually prefer this just for simplicity. And again, LED brightness, you can see them getting dimmer and brighter. And the display brightness, depending on what time of day you're running, you may want it up or down. And I'm not quite sure what pop-up time does, but I can certainly look into that. I'll drop a comment when I find out. And so yeah, I don't have much in the way of buttons assigned to the car at this time. But I do have the different strategies mapped here. I'm going to start out on Strat 1. So if I go clutch in, first gear, give it some gas, and slowly let out that clutch. We are rolling here at Imola on board the Ferrenzo. Of course, the pit limiter is on. And then we start rolling. So that LED brightness is a bit much. Let me just turn that joker down. That seems a bit better. So we're going to get some heat into these tires and brakes before we really start turning laps here. My suspicion is I will be in the low 1 minute 33s to start off. If we really push and if we can manage to hold on to some tire life and deplete our fuel tank a little bit, we should be able to get maybe a 131 and change. Who knows? We'll see what happens here. So initial impressions of driving the Ferrenzo. I've had some time to play around with this. I was actually sent a pre-release version, and it was not for testing. They managed to get the problems fixed for release, but the original version I had was not working well with CSP, so I actually had to hold off driving. But since then, I have been given a test version, and that's what I'm running here. And it seems to have sorted out the bugs, and I think there are no real lingering issues with the physics, so I have had a chance to test this out. And my initial impressions are very good. This seems to be kind of the safer alternative to the Peugeot, which was the other car from VRC, or the other hypercar rather from VRC. And this one seems safer. It seems more stable. The Peugeot very much on edge. Perhaps by dint of not having a rear wing, perhaps just the physics that VRC chose to assign to the car. It is much more on edge. This one, very, very stable. It's hard to go over the limit, frankly, which is interesting because if you go to Le Mans Ultimate, it's the opposite. I find the 499P in that game to be such a handful. So who got it right? Well, not for me to say. Unsurprisingly, I've never driven the 499P in real life, so I have no idea how finicky it is or how accurate either Assetto Corsa, either virtual racing cars or Studio 397 recreated the 499P. No idea whose is more accurate. So all I can do is enjoy this, and frankly, I do. So we seem to have some heat into these tires now. I can start to push a little bit of understeer there. In fact, a lot of understeer, but we can start to bring things up. And you notice right away that tea kettle, those electric motors spooling, regenerating under braking. You can hear them regenerating above a certain threshold of speed too. And it becomes evident which strat you're on by the sound of those whistles. So take a listen to this. So this is strat 2. Cuts out at 270, but I can bring it back by going with a higher strat. So that's kind of interesting. So depending on what deploy you go with, it'll give you more electrical motor assistance to your car. So yeah, it's very much stuck in at this point. Feeling good. So we can start to push. Again, shooting for 133s. Came up a little bit short there on that corner. It sounds like a creepy sound effect from Scooby-Doo at times. Very interesting sounds coming from this car. That 3-liter V6 engine pumping out in the high 600, almost 700 horsepower. And then that 200 kilowatt electric motor. That translates to somewhere in the neighborhood of 270, 280 horsepower. So at peak deploy, this thing is killer. Well over 900, approaching 1,000 horsepower for a car that weighs dry just over 1,000 kilograms. So almost at that magical 1-to-1 horsepower to kilogram ratio. Not quite there, but very, very close. So those are just incredible figures, and there ain't much in the world that can beat this car. All right, let's dial it up. Let's really go for it here. So yeah, overall my impressions, very, very good. Virtual Racing Cars always delivers. I will admit this one is not as mind-blowing to me as the Peugeot. I still drive the Peugeot, or Peugeot, depending on what you want to call it. I still drive that at least weekly. That is still one of my favorite cars ever made for Assetto Corsa, and I was just smitten with that one instantly. I don't feel that same level of love for this Ferrenzo P49. It's not that instant love that I got with the Peugeot, but just the same, it is very, very good. It's one of those things. It's like, if any of you are hip-hop fans, you might remember Jay-Z's Kingdom Come record, and it was widely criticized, and his response was, well, the only reason you don't like it is because I made the blueprint and I made Reasonable Doubt. And that's very true. So when an artist creates something, their future works are always compared to their past works. So is this as good as the Peugeot? In my opinion, no. But it is still better than 99.9% of everything you will ever drive in terms of Assetto Corsa mods. So take that, oh boy, take that for what it's worth. I think it's an excellent, excellent car. Again, just not that instant connection, not that sense of the car being alive underneath me that I had with the Peugeot, but still phenomenal. And it is such a great car that Ferrari has produced. I mean, it's nice to see them back at the top of the endurance world. Of course, a great showing at Imola. And that's kind of what's reflected here. This 499P capable of so much. Again, it is the more stable of the two offerings from virtual racing cars. So if you find the Peugeot to be just a bit unruly, a bit hard to steer, a bit hard to navigate around the track on, I would highly recommend you try this Ferrenzo. Again, I'm not going to oversell it and say this is better than the Peugeot. In my opinion, it is not, but just the same, it is phenomenal. It's a great driving car, and once again, virtual racing cars, they just can't seem to miss. So for those keeping track, we have now 2 hypercars, Le Mans hypercars, on offer from the VRC team. We have one, well, I'm combining LMH and LMDH here, but we have one from Race Sim Studio, which is the BMW, and soon to have the Porsche. And then URD has made the Toyota already, and they hinted at another car. I didn't see what it was. I know that they showed the headlight. I didn't quite catch what it was. It looked like it was fairly early in design, so not quite sure when we'll see that one. But possibly the Lambo, I'm not sure. I'll have to recheck the social media because I'm quite sure I'm wrong about that. But we'll see what URD can come out with. And yeah, so we're getting close to having all of the hypercars, LMDH and LMH, on offer for Assetto Corsa from some of the top modding teams. And there's Elite Racing Studio. They have their offerings as well. So we're starting to fill out that class. And with the excellent GT3 cars we have from Race Sim Studio, it's possible to basically make very close to a full grid. Oh, and Chem Flumi. Possible to make a very full WEC grid at this point, or IMSA. So great work by all these modding teams, and this Ferrenzo P49 will fit right in. This is as good a car as you'll drive in Assetto Corsa, frankly. It's not going to reshuffle my top 5 or top 10 cars in this title, but it is very close. It is knocking at the door. There's just so much to love about this, and again, the more stable option. So if you find yourself fighting the Peugeot, but love the work of virtual racing cars, this could be the one for you. So let's go one more lap, see if we can set a personal best here. I'm going to shut my mouth, let you enjoy these sounds, and then I've got a special treat for you at the end of the video. So by the slimmest margin, I will reset fastest lap here. But yeah, the Ferrenzo is out now for Assetto Corsa on PC. And yep, virtual racing cars, once again, did a phenomenal job with this car. Oh boy, am I on for another fastest lap here? I might have to see this one through. So again, this is better than 99.9% of everything you will drive in this title. Just not cracking into my top 5 or top 10, but very, very close. And I'm sure you will love it. And so many other great hypercars on offer or coming soon to this title. I think it's going to be a very good year. Oh, can I crack into the 131s here? Not like that, I can't. Gonna be close. Oh, that was a horrendous corner. We're still technically showing in the 131s. What can I pull out here? This is going to come down to my accuracy on my shifts. There we go. All right, so we got into the 131s. All right, I promised you one more treat. So here's the car. Let's see what it can do at the famous Nürburgring Nordschleife.